The world's most unusual buildings. Number 16. The EMP Museum. The EMP Museum is a non-profit dedicated to contemporary popular culture, located in Seattle near the Space Needle. It's one of Frank Gehry's many strange architectural art projects, which isn't surprising considering the unusual shape of this building. He drew inspiration for the building from shapes of a smashed Stratocaster electric guitar, which is appropriate considering the fact that it has a huge collection of Jimi Hendrix memorabilia. Number 15. Nakagin Capsule Tower. The Nakagin Capsule Tower is a relic from Japan's post-World War II architectural movement called Japanese Metabolism. The Capsule Tower was one of the few structures that were built with the idea of continual growth in mind. As you can see, the tower is composed of several smaller nodes, or capsules, which could be removed or added as needed. Each capsule was used as an apartment, office, or storage space. 30 out of the original 140 of these capsules are still in use. Number 14. The Dancing Building. This warped building looks more like it belongs in Diagon Alley rather than in Prague in the Czech Republic. The Dancing Building is a modern glass construction built into and around the older historic building. It was designed by Frank Gehry and completed construction in 1996. Number 13. Cubic Houses in Rotterdam, Netherlands. In the Netherlands, you can find a set of strange homes called the Cube Houses. They are a high-density living space wherein most of the living takes place on the upper floor. Conceptually, each house is meant to look like a tree, and together they create a living forest. Parts of this living forest have been converted into a museum, a construction firm's office, and even a hostel. Number 12. The Dynamic Tower. The Dynamic Tower is an architectural proposal that would be constructed in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. What would distinguish the Dynamic Tower from other skyscrapers would be the fact that each of its 80 floors would rotate independently of each other. This would create a tower that has a different shape every minute of the day. In the proposal, each floor would complete a rotation in 90 minutes. It was originally scheduled to be finished in 2009, but it is now on hold without an official date of completion. Number 11. The Kansas City Public Library. This giant bookshelf in Kansas City isn't a mural or an expert Photoshop job. It's actually a giant bookshelf. This is a part of the Kansas City Public Library, a feature called the Community Bookshelf. The books are made of signboard and were attached to the public library as an ode to the city's favorite books. The books featured were voted on by the public to ensure that it truly would be a community bookshelf. Number 10. The Chapel of the Holy Cross. In the mountain cliffs of Sedona, Arizona, a chapel is built directly into the rock. The Chapel of the Holy Cross is a Catholic church that was built in 1957 at the cost of $300,000. It opens its door to anyone regardless of their faith, creed, or race. The chapel sits on one of Sedona's notorious magnetic vortices of energy. Number 9. Wonderworks. This is a photo of a building that was lifted out of the ground and flipped all the way around before it landed. No, just kidding, this is the Waterworks building, built to look like a completely upturned building that was uprooted with its concrete foundation. Inside the Wonderworks is an interactive science museum, including laser tag and a zipline. Number 8. Calakmul Building. The Calakmul Building in Mexico City is named after one of the largest ancient Maya cities to have existed. Before the Calakmul Building was erected, the lot it was on was nothing but an old junkyard, but now it's a world-renowned business center. It is sometimes called the Washing Machine Building because of the iconic circular shapes built into the facade. It kinda looks like a hyperspace terminal for interstellar travel, but that's just me. Number 7. Kardadu, the Concrete Chapel. This beautiful concrete structure is built on a mountainside in El Salvador and was intentionally built with holes in it. It is called Kardadu, a concrete chapel with completely open sides to allow visitors to view the spectacular view. It looks directly into Coatepeque Lake, a scenic volcanic basin surrounded by grassy plains and mountainsides. The two support beams deliberately intersect at a cross in lieu of an actual one. It's meant to be a peaceful place for religious congregations, as well as a non-denominational place for people to sit and take in the view. Number 6. The Lotus Building. This building blooms out of a beautiful artificial lake in Wujin, China. This is a floating flower turned into a fantastic site called the Lotus Building. It is a 2-story building that is partly underground that is the home to the city's planning bureau, exhibition halls, meeting rooms, and conference centers. Although it is largely a functional structure, it was also built to be a sculptural piece of art. The inside is also as striking as the outside. Number 5. Seattle Central Library. This glass building is the Seattle Public Library System's flagship building, the Seattle Central Library. The building was meant to look like separate glass platforms that are being held together by a steel net. This super geometric building holds 1.4 million books and attracted over 2 million visitors in its first year of operation. The coolest thing about the Seattle Central Library is the fact that it looks like a place out of a dream from Inception. Number 4. The Beijing National Stadium. The Beijing National Stadium is also called the Bird's Nest for obvious reasons. It is a premier stadium used to host football matches and is scheduled to host the 2022 Winter Olympics and Paralympics. It can seat up to 91,000 people. Since the 2009 Beijing Summer Olympics, the Bird's Nest struggles to keep up with maintenance costs. So now you can rent a Segway for $20 and do laps around an Olympic field. That might be the closest thing you get to running in a bona fide Olympic stadium. Number 3. The Odalo Solar Furnace. Usually, when the glass facade of a building is creating heat rays, it's an accident, not deliberate, but there are buildings built specifically to utilize this phenomenon. A solar furnace is a mirrored structure that is constructed at a curve, used to magnify solar power and produce extremely high temperatures, generate electricity, make hydron fuel, or melt steel. The largest solar furnace in the world is the one at Odalo in France. This furnace is more than 177 feet tall and can create temperatures of up to 6,330 degrees Fahrenheit. Number 2. The Walkie Talkie Tower, or 20 Fenchurch. A skyscraper in London called 20 Fenchurch was making the rounds in the news a few years ago because of its distinct shape, but that attention wasn't necessarily positive. If you remember the solar furnaces that used a curved glass shape to magnify the sun's rays to super hot temperatures, you might be able to guess why 20 Fenchurch was making headlines. 20 Fenchurch, which is almost ubiquitously known as the Walkie Talkie Tower because of its shape, was reflecting the sun's rays and literally melting everything on the sidewalk in front of it. Cars, tiles, doormats, and even people were melting, frying, and burning up underneath the Walkie Talkie Tower. It's no surprise that in 2015, 20 Fenchurch was voted UK's worst building. Number 1. Ryugyong Hotel. This is the Ryugyong Hotel. It is a futuristic marvel of architecture with a distinct pyramid-like shape and unbelievable height of more than 1,000 feet. But the most unbelievable thing about the Ryugyong Hotel is not its size, it's the location it calls home. The hotel stands in the city of Pyongyang, North Korea, a country addled with fascism and poverty. It was commissioned in the 1980s and despite its height was an ugly building with weak concrete foundations and a crooked elevator shaft that earned it the nickname, the Hotel of Doom. Then suddenly, in 2008, despite the fact that everyone thought that it was unsalvageable, construction began again on the hotel, creating the mysterious glass building we see today. But even then, tourists in North Korea are not allowed to visit the hotel, and it lies unoccupied and guarded by military police. It is completely forbidden to visit or enter the building, which kind of defeats the purpose of a 105-floor expensive hotel. It towers above the rest of the city, probably built on unpaid labor and 24 years of off and on construction. After all that, it might not ever even be used.